Welcome to the first episode of, what's your last name again?
Gudino.
Gudino and Enriquez, right?
Estevez and Enriquez.
There you go.
Estevez and Gudino. You can't use your real name.
Can't I?
Do you want to?
I am. Are you going to use your real name?
Yeah, because I'm Gudino.
Yeah, so I'm Enriquez.
So we can't use our alter egos?
Nah, forget it. Come on. Enriquez and Gudino, first episode. And now that we got that out of the way, let's a little introduction. This is a podcast where two dudes are going to talk about, yet another podcast where two dudes talk about movies. But
this one involves us too.
Yes. But unlike previous podcasts where it's usually two white dudes talking about movies, it's two Mexican dudes talking about movies. So Mexican cinema not guaranteed, but we'll get there.
We do. I just watched an Antonio Aguilar movie that I really want to talk about. Lamberto Quitiera or whatever.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking, first introductions out of the way. Jonathan, what do you want to talk about movies? What do you like about movies?
Jonathan Gudino here. I am the Gudino of Enriquez and Gudino. Mm-hmm. And I told you this from the beginning. It takes 50 episodes to find our voice, so hopefully we were originally talking about it being like a Siskel and Ebert thing. That's the whole last name thing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this clarifies the whole playing field of what our purpose is. But we want to talk about movies. We like talking about movies. You know, we like talking about wrestling, but we want to talk about a movie a week.
Yeah.
And we have a topic, and that movie is probably going to be in the name of the title of this one.
Yes,
but it is for...
The movie is The Enigma of Kaspar Hauser, which will show you what kind of movies we're going to be dealing with, because it could be a German art house movie one week, and then next week it could be friggin' like one of the movies out of the Fast and Furious franchise. It's honestly whatever tickles our fancy. There's no set like, well, we're only talking about art house movies, or we're only talking about like action movies. Whatever we want to watch, whatever is on our we have not watched list, or whatever is just like, hey, have you seen this movie?
It'd be neat if we could probably like do again, we're just experimenting with all this, but it'd be cool if we watch a movie we haven't seen before. Then we give our input on it. Like, okay, like, because I was looking at a couple movies and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that one. Like Mama Roma or something. And I'm just like, you've seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I do.
You've
like
heard of
Pasolini. I like Pier Paolo Pasolini.
It was like on my recommendations because I was looking for an Antonio movie, but yeah, that came up.
It's one of his movies that, when we get to that, when we get around to talk about that filmmaker one day, it's one of his movies where he gets really wild and woolly later on because I think he gets depressed. Very Tango in Paris? Not Bernardo Bertolucci level. But, he's an interesting filmmaker, and I think that he's a topic unto his own.
Yeah.
You know? Specifically, and sorry for the chair rattling there, but specifically, one of the topics or things, like one of the mission statements for this podcast is just to talk about movies that we like and we want to, that we care about or even are interested in. It could be a movie that we saw one week, we both agreed, oh, this movie was trash. Let's talk about why we liked it. But also one thing I know you brought up when we would talk about movies, since we're coworkers too, is find something nice that you didn't, find something that you liked about a movie you didn't like, and maybe vice versa for a movie we did like. What didn't you like about a movie you loved,
It's a good question because I was talking to a buddy once. He got a Tesla, right? Mm-hmm. And he went from a Mustang to a Tesla. And I was like, hey, what's the best part about having a Tesla? He's like, oh, it's fast as hell. I'm like, what's the worst part about having a Tesla? Because there's always two sides to the coin,
Exactly.
Unless you're, what's that guy name from Batman? Two-Face?
Two-Face?
It's either my way or the highway because he had a two-sided coin, but it was just the same side each side.
It makes me think, well, it's a two-sided coin, but the other head is like scarred up.
Yeah. No, but he did that after he got his face scarred up.
Yeah.
At least in the movie, one of the movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's how it is.
Nolan.
Harvey Dent always has that. He's got the two-sided coin. Then when he becomes Two-Face, he
scratches up.
He scratches up the second to represent the fact that it's like, all right, Batman, what's it gonna be? Heads
Okay. It's Enriquez and Gudino to start off this whole show, to start off the whole, Hindenburg of this. Hopefully it doesn't crash. There was some whatever
the humanity.
We have you to choose the movie this week, and it was The Enigma of Kaspar Hauser. I watched it, and I did not watch it with a subtitle.
Wow.
So I really took in the whole. I felt like my aunt when I talked Spanish to my mom in front of her. Mm-hmm. She was just like, "Oh, okay, sí, qué bueno," So I felt like my aunt watching this movie, but I sat there and I felt really bad for the kid.
You want me to explain what exactly was going on? Okay, actually, no. Before I tell you what you watched,
do you say the director and the year it came out, stuff like that.
1973, I think. It's 1973. Let me double check.
I don't want to correct you, but it was 75. Was it?
I think so, because I know 1977 is one, because there's a bit of history behind this movie. But the first thing is, it's directed by the great Werner Herzog. You see, he's the guy in the documentaries that talks like this, making movies such as Encounters at the End of the World, talking about the penguin that goes off into the wilderness because he's very depressed.
There's an actor that talks like that.
That's Werner Herzog. He also acts as well as directs. I mean, you got to make movies. You got to make money somehow.
Crap! You reminded me of somebody.
It's 1974.
1974.
So right.
We were both wrong. Thank God.
1974.
Yeah.
Werner Herzog, out of the German New Cinema movement, or New German Cinema movement, which includes guys like Wim Wenders and Rainier Werner Fassbinder, who I'll probably have you see hit their movies too. Hopefully with subtitles this time.
What?
With subtitles this time.
Yeah.
But so the thing about this movie is Werner Herzog is a dude whose movies are usually about like man versus like nature, or like the weird elements of like man versus a fighting against greater forces outside of his own control. And this movie is very much like this. Also, this movie is based on a true thing that happened in Germany.
I looked that
in
up,
Nuremberg. Yeah, you looked that up, right?
Well, it wasn't even Germany back then. It was Balarva or something. Bavaria.
That's still part of Germany.
But it was German?
It was German.
But it wasn't German.
It's in Nuremberg.
Nuremberg's a city. A city-state, right?
Yeah.
They said it was an off-branch of the Roman Empire. Because it was 1800s or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you're it's like the 17 or 1600s. But like you're getting into like, what it was. But now it's present-day Germany. And it's technically part of like the many German states that now became Germany later on. But essentially, the summary of the story is some random young man, he's like 17 in the recorded events. He's played by like a man in his late 20s in this one, but he's got the same energy of like a lost child, and I like that. I love Bruno S. But essentially, this young man was raised in a cellar his entire life until a specific point by a mysterious man who we never found out who they were. And at a certain point, just randomly decides, I'm going to release this kid into civilization and hope everything works out. And this guy could not walk, could not speak, and could not write. And was just given a crash course on all those things, and was just left to his devices in the middle of this town. And everybody just has to figure out exactly like what's up with this kid.
He's an anomaly.
He really is. And here's okay. So the first half of this movie, when he's like everybody in that town is trying to figure out like how to teach him how to do stuff. Yeah. You don't need subtitles for those parts, because it's pretty straightforward. Everybody's just like, can you speak, son? Can you write, son? Where are you from, son? And he's just like,
horse.
I don't know, horse. I don't know. And he's just like I don't know. I don't know what I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never seen a chicken in my life. Yeah. I'm afraid of it. These little kids are like teaching him like little nursery rhymes to help him understand the world.
Yeah.
And then eventually like the authorities come back and just like, well, we've been having this dude locked up in our like jail for like a minute. We got to figure out what this guy's deal is, and we've got all these, and they even bring up like the theories of what this guy was, like about maybe him being like either some like they were trying to blame him or explain his origins. Because, like, I think some people say that they heard that they saw this dude traveling with some English circus in a nearby town. Maybe he's escaped from that. And then other people say, like, well, I also heard that he might be, like, the missing heir to some, like, noble family who was maybe on the chopping block next. So and then eventually just like, well, we don't want to hold on to this guy. He's a burden. Let's pawn him off on the circus. And then some elderly professor's just like, hey, that's illegal. This poor kid. And he takes him in and starts educating him proper. And that's where Kaspar starts developing his own philosophies. Like, the way he understands the world. It's like he sees a tower and he's just like, the man who lives in there must be enormous in order to fit in this in this tower. And just like, Kaspar, no, that's a tower. There's many levels, and, like, you use a scaffolding to get to different levels. No, because when I lived in my room, it was only a few steps large to accommodate me. So clearly, a building this big must house a man just as big. Yeah. Or just like, no, you see, this is when they're, like, picking apples, it's just like, see, like, this apple will, like, fall, like, see how this apple looks different from this one, but eventually it'll become red like this one? It's like, why is that? Oh, it just takes time. And then he drops the apple and just like, oh, this apple fell down, so therefore it is tired and wants to lay down.
It is tired.
It's like, no, Kaspar, I just dropped the apple. It's like, the apple doesn't think or anything. It doesn't have its own inner life. It's just an apple. I control it. Look, watch. If I toss it, it's just gonna stop on its own. And, like, he throws the apple and it, like, stops in the grass. Like, it did not stop on its own, or it didn't stop. You didn't make it stop, or whatever. It decided to hide in the grass. No, Kaspar.
It decided to hide in the.
No, that's not how that works. Look, watch. Yeah. I can make the apple stop. And then he asks, like, the preacher who he brought over. Like, the priest is like, here, put your foot out. And he, like, tries to have the apple, like, get stopped by the priest's foot. And Kaspar sees it, like, kind of bounce over. It's like, no, it's a smart apple. It jumped over the priest's foot to try to escape. Yeah. And just like, this beautiful little man is so innocent. But there's a scene that I like, his innocence and the way he understands the world, and just like, especially when he goes to that big, like, fancy party to see if he can get sponsored. Yeah. It's just like, it's like so overwhelming to him. It's just like, he's just like, he starts reverting back to some of his old habits, which is why he's, like, shirtless and kind of, like, playing with a rag in that, like, room. But, like, there's a scene early on when he's, like, encountering, like, that, like, first family's baby, and he's, like, holding, and he starts crying, and he's just like, Kaspar, what's wrong? It's like, Mother, I'm so far away from everything. And it's like his brain saying, like, I'm so not there with where everyone else is with this. And it's just like, that is such, like, a touching way of explaining, like how a kid who has the brain power to explain but doesn't have the words yet, Yeah. But anyways, that's where I'm at. And obviously, spoiler alert for anybody who wants to see this movie. The mysterious man who kept him prisoner comes back and eventually gets him.
He's the one who clubbed him in the head while he was taking a shit, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then he comes back and just stabs him randomly and delivers that stupid note to his caretaker. And then at the end, after he's dead, they're, like, doing his autopsy, just like, oh, he had an enlarged liver and brain. That explains everything. I'm like,
does it?
It doesn't. You fucking. There's also, like, a little weird side story with that little, like, the little man that's, like, in the top hat, who's, like, the town recorder. There's, like, a weird side story in the movie where, like, every time he shows up, he's just like, I like how he's just repeating and recording everything, and he's just like, wow, what a scoop, kind of. Anyways. So that's a brief summary of it, and my kind of, like, some of the things that I really loved about the movie. What did you think, because you watched it without subtitles?
This poor kid. At first, I didn't like that he was clean shaven, but then I realized, oh, he's supposed to be playing a 16-year-old.
He's like 17 or 16, yeah.
So it's like, oh,
it's very clear that
that he was shaving.
Yeah, Bruno S. Was like a grown man, and But I don't know. I guess it's like face and like his kind of childlike demeanor.
That's where I brought it up with you before when you shot your film with when you tried emulating the Badlands winner, right?
Yes.
And I was just like, bruh, you should have showed him like shaving with like a knife because he was clean shaven and he's like living off the land. I'm like, how do you keep? Because I'm very picky on shit like that.
Yeah,
I know you're not.
I understand, but also look, man. I preface this as being a sort of kind of fantasy, all right?
I don't care. I want to argue and nitpick and be a complainer.
You know, it's fine because you probably have said the most about my own short films than I think my classmates even said. I mean, they were pretty much just like, "Oh, fun movie, Carlos. Good job." But you're just like, "Hey, you should have this guy shaving, or why aren't their clothes dirtier?" Or
I liked a couple scenes.
Yeah.
I like the shadow. I'm a sucker for a shadow scene, dude.
Yeah.
If you just show a silhouette of someone like in front of a river under a tree, bro, I'm like, give this man everything.
Yeah.
Give this man.
You don't like
make him make more.
You don't like the scene where they're like floating on like that river and it's like that. It's like overlapping. With,
We're talking about the one you filmed.
Yeah.
With your lady and
yeah.
Okay, look. I remember the silhouette.
Okay.
And that is all I remember.
Okay, and now
that's what stuck out to me. You know, when you watch a movie and you're like, what makes this a great
It's
film?
also I think the thumbnail maybe on that movie. But anyways, back to Kaspar Hauser. Mm-hmm. So poor kid.
Yeah.
Clearly displayed by an adult.
That's me hating.
Yeah,
but I sit there and I watch it, and again, I didn't watch it with subtitles, so I really took in the whole energy of the whole thing. When they were doing I was thinking of the big-lipped alligator moment, right?
Yeah.
When they were doing the carnival thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so out of place, and then they show him coming out. I'm like,
he's part of the show now.
I'm like, they made him a fucking freak show, dude, and this is where it's interesting.
What did you think of Hombrecito?
Which one's Hombrecito?
He's like the native
The guy who was playing the flute.
Okay, here's what you missed out in without the subtitles.
Okay.
Just like, behold, this native noble savage from New Spain. That's where we're at this
New
time
Spain
period.
is Mexico?
Yeah. Or New Spain, or it could also be Peru or whatever. But he's so cold in our climate. He needs to wear multiple jackets to keep himself warm.
Yeah.
And Hombrecito, he longs for his old land. So he plays this flute constantly to remind him of home. And then he taps the flute to tell him to start playing. But his name he called him Hombrecito.
There was some parts where they spoke English, and I was like, oh, I understood that. Like when they go to the rich.
They would go to the party.
Yeah, and it's like, take your glove off, shake their hand, all that.
One interesting thing is the way that they teach Kaspar to even speak German. I would actually say this is a good movie to watch if you're learning to speak German for the first time, because a lot of it is like showing an adult how to speak a new language that they don't know. So I would actually recommend watching this movie for that. Then maybe hopefully you won't get really bummed out about poor Kaspar's.
I was watching an episode of Bad Friends, and it's Bobby Lee and Antonio Santino, and Bobby was like, I'd go to school, but I freaking hated it, right? And he was just like, everything I could learn in life, I could get it from a movie or a TV show. It's like, what can algebra teach me that a movie can't? And I'm just like, crap, dude, I hate, like, there's some clairvoyance to that. There's like some clarity to that. I'm just like, fuck, dude, a movie can teach you so much.
It is true. Yeah, like you can learn.
So people learn English that way.
Yeah,
like they watch German films or they watch English TV shows.
That's true. Like for example, I looked at like most of my foreign films I have in my collection, and I realized, my God, I have like so many movies in French. And
you might as well know the language now.
There are times, like, here's the thing: if French wasn't such a, sorry to all of any future French listeners here, if it wasn't such a mangly language,
your language sucks.
Look, man, I can watch and listen to a movie that was made in Italy, and I can get maybe 25% of what they're saying because there's a crossover in Spanish. Like, I know Spanish, and that's a gateway into Italian, practically. Yeah. Portuguese is a little difficult, but I'm starting to pick up on it. So, like, if I watch a movie from Portugal or Brazil, I can pick up on it. French, I have a hard time, and I took French in high school.
So, what did you learn?
From this movie, or just in general from watching French films?
No, what do they call a quarter pounder with cheese?
They call it a Royale with cheese.
Royale.
What do they call a Whopper? I don't know. I didn't go to Burger King. My favorite line, favorite end to that conversation.
I want to go to Burger King.
It's like I didn't go to Burger King.
I want to go to Burger King, dude.
But all right. So But yeah, so Kaspar Hauser though, like you're watching it, no subtitles, but you're getting the vibe that this like poor kid, he's
when he touched the candle and he just started crying, I was like, this poor boy.
Yeah, like
he's so stupid.
But also he doesn't know. He's like probably he's only. I mean, you saw the cellar he was in. He probably the only light he got was from that little window.
I was watching like them talking about him, and they were saying that he could see clearly at night.
Probably because he spends his whole life in darkness.
What I saw was like he was basically given from a mother to these people, and these people took care of him, and they're like, give him away as soon as he's 16.
Yeah.
So that's why he dropped him off in the city and everything as soon as he was 16.
That's what the note said.
But this is where I get baffled, right? It's the whole Plato's allegory thing. The cave. It's like, who feeds these people? Because he's like, oh, I'd wake up and there was food. I'd wake up and there was drink. Right. And when I'd go back to sleep, I'd wake up and they was there again.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, who the hell are these people feeding? Like, that's he was saying that he had a family of 10 and he couldn't take care of this.
Right. That's all in that note.
Yeah.
So yeah. That little letter he's got, that's all explaining everything, which, could be a dubious claim. We don't know because that dude who comes back to like fucking kill poor Kaspar again, like he's reaching the point where he's like finally kind of like becoming this noble savage, he's understanding the world.
He learned from Hombrecito.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like, so what did you think of the scenes where they inserted like home movie footage?
Home movie footage?
Like because there are scenes where he's like describing a dream and you see these people climbing a mountain.
Fuck, dude, don't make me remember that.
And there's also these scenes where like at the end when he's dying, right?
Yeah.
And you see footage of this caravan in the desert. He's describing a dream he's had, but he's never seen what these dudes look like. I mean,
I saw it.
It's funny because that's I think.
What do you think of it?
Well, it's interesting because I think it adds an element of like this dude is like maybe having memories, or at least is like maybe all of his like reading has like created these images in his head.
Yeah.
But also there's a part of me just like I think maybe Werner Herzog is using Kaspar Hauser because he's such like an innocent soul. He's like this innocent who's like maybe wise beyond his years and understanding of him, like translating elements of life that he sees and is imparting this kind of like pure wisdom onto these people.
Yeah.
So I think that's that element of that. So, but yeah. Also, what did you think of that scene where it's just the Werner Herzog decides let me just shoot a stork eating a frog for 5 minutes. How are you with like watching animals like do horrible things to each other? Truth.
I was watching that and I was like, did they give it to him dead? Or did he kill the frog? Because the frog wasn't moving.
Most likely.
I'm like, did he peck it to death and they just caught him at the dead end of like killing?
Werner Herzog is very known for like finding elements of like of nature being cruel. Because that's a lot of his stuff is like that. He like a lot of like the classic like parody of Werner Herzog doing his like narration, or even like doing a movie. Like if you're like, if you're doing a parody like back in the golden era of Patrick Willems, where he would be like, what if this movie was directed by this director?
Yeah.
He would do like, actually one of his is like, what if Ant-Man was directed by Werner Herzog? And it's literally Ant-Man like fighting off like giant ants. It's like, and it's like the cruelty of like nature, like the impossible like ability of man to fight nature, And Werner Herzog just has these.
How do you spell Werner?
W-E-R. It's like Warner, but with an E. So with all E's. So W-E-R-N-E-R.
Herzog?
H-E-R-Z-O-G.
What if Werner Herzog directed Ant-Man?
There it is.
You're fucking lying, dude.
No, it's right there. Yeah.
Don't mind me. You.
No. So, anyways, like it's a common topic.
I've never seen this one. I've seen the Wes Anderson one.
Yeah. I mean, also he's got one like where it's called like I think The Punisher. If The Punisher were directed by Sergio Leone,
the freaking bad,
Good, Bad, the Ugly. Also, I think he made like 5 movies. Good example of a there it is.
That's the Werner Herzog look?
Yeah, it's a Werner Herzog look. A lot of like, I mean, it's like both a combination of his modern and classic stuff, but
it looks like stock footage.
It's interesting. I think it's a lot of it is a parody of his like modern stuff that uses like a lot of like the kind of bigness of like humanity and stuff.
Is he using?
He's definitely using stock footage for sure. Come on.
You could tell what's film, and you could tell what's. Look at that. Or is that just a freaking?
So I mean, here he's probably using a green screen or whatever, as we describe this. Oh, I like that he even uses the same kind of titles as like Aguirre, Wrath of God. That's another one we should probably watch eventually.
Wrath of God. That's not the Aguirre, Brazil one, is it?
Well, he's made two of them. There's Fitzcarraldo and Aguirre, Wrath of God. And Aguirre is about Klaus Kinski being this like conquistador who gets lost on the river and goes crazy. And it's on that topic of like man versus nature, and man is losing because he cannot handle how horrible and cruel nature is. But also, his movies also just kind of show how like horrible and cruel the world is, because the second movie he would make with the same actor, Bruno S., Strozek, which was the one that I suggested, that has more English in it because it's literally an immigrant story gone very bad.
How bad?
Well, it starts off in Germany. Bruno S. plays Bruno Strozek. In fact, it's semi-biographical. And Bruno...
Is he German? Is Bruno German?
He's German.
Okay.
He's a street musician, and he plays a street musician in that movie.
Okay.
And it's all about him, like, getting released from prison and from, like, the psych ward and being put back out onto the streets. It's just like, all right, be good, Bruno. We don't want you back here in prison. You know, you got mental problems, so you got to take care of yourself this time. I don't want to see you back here, dude. And he's just like, yeah, okay. And
English or German?
It's in German because the first part it takes place in Germany.
Yeah. And
then he's just getting back to his old tricks of like, I don't want to ruin it because I do want you to watch it.
We shouldn't talk about that movie then.
But essentially, it's an immigrant story
But it's Bruno connected to Kaspar, so that's how...
the two movies they made together, and I think the two movies where he got to be an actor, because I think otherwise he was mostly just a street musician and showed up in a few documentaries. Bruno was a very shy performer, and Werner Herzog had to like really psych him up for these roles, which is why like when you see him act, you see him kind of like stop and think it's like perfect, because it's like I think it's also him as an actor trying to like do his best as an actor, but then also it's like someone trying their best to like be a person, you know? So
they're trying their best to be a person.
Well, you know,
I love that.
Well, like because like Kaspar, he like stops and closes his eyes to like think what he's trying to say, and then he says it, you know. Oh. And Bruno kind of, I think as an actor, does a lot of that. So
I watched, like I said, a couple of videos on them talking about this Mr. Hauser guy, right? Mm-hmm. And they were saying he wasn't really smart. He was just remembering.
Yeah.
So he was just a good remember, and that hit me because I was just like, ain't that what we all do? We just remember like how to talk, how to. We take like, you know, charisma from certain people and stuff. Isn't that?
Well, I think the truly smart people are the people who are able to take the knowledge and things that they take that they absorb in their brain and then translate it into the way that they will say stuff. You know, like it's not just like, I mean, I guess people who just parrot stuff are obviously the people who aren't that smart, but I think the people who take that knowledge and then absorb it and then send it back out in the world in a different way as they understand it, and then are willing to also like change it as to how it's supposed to be understood is the main difference. But again, like not Bruno. Kaspar Hauser is such a weird like historical figure, because there's also elements of people saying that like I think this dude was a faker, you know?
Yep, there was that whole spiel that, you know what, he was just doing this for attention. They were saying every time he got really hurt, it was because of... Oh, shit, I'm getting a phone call.
Uh-oh.
No.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Hey, Humberto.
¿Qué pasó, viejo? ¿Cómo andas?
Aquí bien, te tengo en el show. Dile hola a Carlos y todos los que están escuchando.
Órale, ¿qué onda, homies? Un saludo ahí para todos los de la pandilla de la T5.
All right, that's
nice. So they were saying that he was a crook because every time he wanted something to go his way, and they were just like, oh, if he could do this and if he could do that.
Yeah.
Because they were saying he only knew how to say certain words, and he learned to play the piano and shit.
Yeah.
They were saying he was just doing this to like social climb and stuff, like to just be, like I said, an anomaly.
Yeah.
A curiosity to people.
Yeah, I've heard that story too. And I find it interesting that like Werner Herzog decided to, because again, I think it fits with his like themes of what he likes and what he wants to explore in his movies. It's interesting that he chose.
He didn't point it like that. The director. He wasn't like, oh, he's faking it. He said it like.
Well, that's what I mean. Because that's what he cares about as a filmmaker. Werner Herzog cares more about actually like taking it in as is. You know, just like, yeah, this dude he's going because it fits his ideas better. Like this idea of like this innocent like creature who has to encounter humanity as if he'd just been born yesterday. You know, an adult man who's been a child his most life.
You know what's going to really upset me about this?
Uh-huh.
How are we going to find this depth in, like, Con Air if we watch that next week?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. It's like, see, Poe was just trying to defend his wife because...
Put the bunny down.
Yeah. It's like...
No,
crap.
you know
so,
what?
like,
Look, you'd be surprised what we could probably get out of Con Air if we sat down and actually talked about it. Because I know
we're going to save it for next week.
Yeah. I know.
That's my first pick. I brought it on Blu-ray just so you could watch it.
Hell yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll watch Con Air next week.
We're going to watch Con Air. I'm going to rewatch it this coming week, and then next week we'll record again, and then we'll talk about Con Air.
So any final thoughts about Kaspar Hauser?
Final thoughts already?
I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything more to say? I mean, we're like half an hour in.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Is that good timing?
I think that's good timing. I mean, look, I'm not saying all podcasts have to be an hour. Okay. I'm just saying if we're like at least a half hour in, that's enough. That's enough time for somebody to wash their dishes, maybe mow the lawn.
Okay.
Or what? Did you want to keep going for an hour to see how much we can get?
I just wanted to. This is
what more do you want to say? Hold
on. With my experience as a podcaster, I noticed that we just winged it as far as we could the first time, and then later we just dialed it down. We like I said, we're still finding our voice, so I don't know if 30 minutes is good or if later we're gonna do 10, 15 minutes. But like the whole like he was only hurting himself because he wanted attention and stuff. Yeah. Like when he got hit in the head while he was taking a shit. Yeah. I was just like, well, that sticks out. And like when you didn't talk about how he grew. What was it?
His
barley?
Name.
Yeah,
he grew his name, and then he cried when somebody stepped on it. That whole part where we saw the stork eating the frog. Yeah. The voiceover on that is him describing a letter he was writing, like a diary, talking about how he had grown his name using, I think it was barley or something. Yeah, yeah. And then like I think at a certain point, I think he had some visitors come over, and then they stepped on his name, and he had gotten sad about it. Yeah. And then he decided to regrow his name again.
I just thought it was funny when they had him locked up and the kids showed up and they had a chicken.
Oh, those drunks? Yeah.
And then they're like, check this out, and they just put the chicken on its back.
Yeah.
And then they just move its head. I'm just like, how the fuck do you touch a chicken like that? Or when he was dancing with the cat, you want to end this on 30 minutes and you're not going to talk about him dancing with a cat.
Give me a sec. All right. First off, I did bring up the chicken thing because I said that like so since you didn't watch it with subtitles, what those drunks are saying is like, check it out. He ain't never seen no chicken. Look how scared he is.
Because he was trying to run out the window.
Yeah, like when how would you feel if you had been locked up in a dark room your whole life? Yeah. You'd never seen a tree. You'd never seen another human being except for the man who comes in every day to feed you. How would you feel if all of a sudden you were in this new area, you'd seen buildings for the first time? You'd never even walked before. Like, how would you encounter? What would your feelings be towards something that didn't look like a person for the first time in your life?
I think that's the Jesus thing. Like, he died for our sins, so we didn't have to. Kaspar Hauser lived that life, so we didn't have to. Because they were saying, oh, if you would have fed a man bread and water for the whole life,
the other thing
he would have had a disease, right? Yeah. But it's like, have you ate bread and water for the whole life? It's like, go fuck yourself. It's like, how the hell are you gonna say like, oh, he would have been dead? He's getting nutrients.
It's interesting because I have heard stories, and there was an entire experiment done where somebody lived on a liquid only diet, and he had scientists nutritionists to kind of make sure he wasn't gonna like shut down. Like, could you live on a liquid only diet? And it turns out you can, but you still have to have like protein and stuff put into your water and whatnot. So like you had to have like an advanced form of Pedialyte put in, like also be intaken. But what I'm trying to say is, and the other things that are interesting is when he's living with that family at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're showing him how to eat other food. And he's like, and the kid's just like, no, Kaspar, look.
Was that hot chocolate?
I think it was just like oatmeal or something, or some kind of like milk. It was like milk. And he's just like, look, Kaspar. Once you are done drinking, it's empty. See? There's nothing. There's nothing in it. Just like,
and his dad had a beer?
Yeah, it's like, this is beer, Kaspar. Well, they're German. Come on.
I heard beer.
Yeah, you're right. Beer sounds the same in German.
Because he put his finger in it and he's just
it's beer, yeah. They're also German, Jonathan. Come on.
I like the bird that they took a shot of. I was just like,
Oh, that's the other thing. I mean, what did you think of the filmmaking, the way this is all presented?
I loved the presentation. I loved like how you see the graininess and shit. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man. I hate how Carlos is right about that shit. Because it's like when you watch a new movie, you're like, it's so clear.
Yeah.
And then when you're like,
it's rough. It's like something. It's like alive.
It looks like. Because I was like, oh, did they cut that scene? Because sometimes you see a little dot, and you're like, oh, did they cut that? Was that a continuous shot? They just put something between it?
Yeah.
I'm like, you could just see it. It has its own essence, dude. Yeah. And I thought that was neat. I watched that, and I was just like thinking about the graininess. I was like, fuck, dude, I hate how much I missed that. I like that.
Well, I'm also talking about like the style of the movie, because like Werner Herzog shoots this very kind of like he just kind of shoots it very kind of documentary like. He's presenting like all these scenes as is without like any real fancy shots, except maybe like these kind of insert shots of like of like, you know, maybe like a mount like a landscape, or like a couple of like things of like kind of like little business, you know. But he's just presenting the world as he would examine it, and also obviously to put in like little scenes that drive home his old themes. Again, stork eating a frog.
Yeah,
showing like how nature consumes other things, you know.
What's Mr. Hauser the frog, and was nature the bird? Was
life the bird, in Kaspar the frog?
He had a good life in the cage, in the,
and
but
then
he got fed into the open where the birds could get him.
Yeah,
or who knows?
But also, I like how he like when he gets hurt too. Speaking of which, it's
the feet thing or the
it's an interesting element too, because like when he gets hurt, he doesn't go to his room or like he has upstairs. He goes straight into the basement and the cellar to hide, because that's a safe space for him. You know. Again,
that goes with the whole he was more comfortable in the shadows.
Exactly.
He'd be like, it's too bright. It hurts my eyes.
Yes.
So he's just like. I don't know if he said that in the movie, but he was just like more comfortable. Like that was his safe place.
It's implied. I think because I mean he does. He tries to go back to things that like he is like used to. You know.
I got in a big fight with my brother like on Thursday.
Okay.
Because he was like, "Oh, you need to text me. You need to message me," and I'm like, "This is my cellar. I like phone calls."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, a text message. It's out in the open." It's like, no, like my safe space is a phone call. Like, don't make me write letters to you. So it's just like comforting for Kaspar to just go into the cellar, because that's his. He got meeting hurt in person. Yeah. That's his phone call. That's his comfort.
Also, imagine seeing this man who like essentially kept and fed you, and then like you're in this new world. You're learning how to speak and encountering and understanding. You're trying to understand this like new world that has been introduced for you for about like 2 years. You know, and then all of a sudden this man, the guy who like raised you, shows up out of nowhere and decides like fucking to club you. And the thing I think about that, the reason why this dude did it, is I think it's because he's mad at Kaspar for not becoming the like cavalier that he like tried
the horseman.
The horseman. He didn't become the fancy like horseman, you know,
like his dad.
Yeah, allegedly.
But this is the thing. That guy didn't like educate him or nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just like, it goes to sleep, I bring it food, and I go fuck myself. It's not like, hey, let's play patty cake or something.
I also like how mad he like.
Fuck that fool.
Yeah, I know. Like, and I think the movie wants you to hate that guy, because also he's just like, here, Kaspar, if you learn to write nicely, I'll get you a pretty horsey. At the beginning, he's like giving the paper, and he's like,
when he's in the
he's still at the beginning.
Town center.
No, when he's still inside that cellar.
And he tried to make him write the note.
Yeah, he says like, if you write nicely, Kaspar, I will give you a pretty horsey. And like Kaspar's just like, I fucking have never written in before.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play with my horse again.
Yeah.
And then the guy shows up and like wangs him in like in the arm. He's just like, no, you gotta write. And just like, you didn't teach him to write. You just told him to scrawl.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything.
I think it's like in wrestling. You need to have a person to root for and a person to hate.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy in black, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
He sucks. You're not meant to like him. It sucks that he decided to come back and like kill poor Kaspar.
He's like, I'm here to finish the job. Why didn't you do that when he was in the cage?
I think he tried.
Oh, he still had purpose. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck that fool.
Yeah. And the poor, like, he
hit him while he was taking a shit, dude. That pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, I think Hitchcock said it best, like, the most vulnerable place is the bathroom.
Dude, well, he did get famous off that bathroom shot.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Wasn't it The Outsiders or no, The Searchers?
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood? He shoots someone while taking a shit?
Searcher.
The one he won a freaking Oscar for in 1990.
Unforgiven.
The Unforgiven, right?
Yeah.
Okay, when he
Hackman.
comes back to be a killer again.
Yeah.
And the town boy kid or something.
Yeah.
He's just like, I've never killed no one. And he killed someone while he was taking a shit.
Yeah. And that's how it is.
That is disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
You don't club a man while he's shitting.
Actually, that reminds me. One movie that I think I need to put on the list that I watched recently is Wild Bill, about Wild Bill Hickok.
Who's that?
The famous gunfighter from the Old West.
Like
the whole
Oakley Old West, or like
yeah.
Well,
in this case, it would have been Calamity Jane, who was his girlfriend. But yeah, Wild Bill, the famous gunfighter from that the whole series Deadwood kind of starts off with. It's a pretty interesting movie. It's shot in the early 90s. It's got a lot of like MTV aesthetics, even though it's made by like a dude who's
What do you mean MTV aesthetics? Like it has like little cartoons, little bumpers.
No. It's shot almost. It reminds me of a lot of like early 90s music videos because it switches between the present is shot very kind of like almost like a stage play, which I think it's kind of based off of a little bit, but it's like shot in a specific kind of hazy like 90s Western style. And then when you have these flashbacks to Wild Bill's like true love or whatever, it's shot on like high resolution, like black and white video, like high 8 video, like skate park video. And it's like black and white. I'm like, what? This is weird, but also I'm kind of here for this because it like.
What company produced that?
I think it was a kind of an independent film that was I think eventually released by Warner Brothers, but it's directed by Walter Hill. Who's responsible for movies like The Warriors and Hard Times and The Driver, 48 Hours, Southern Comfort, which are all great movies. But Walter Hill, also I think he also did like the second writing pass on the original Alien movie. So he's the one who kind of made it a little like kind of tougher and blue collar. But anyways,
I've probably seen this movie.
It's pretty good. I like it. A young David Arquette as the dude.
Fuck him.
You will hate him in this movie.
Okay.
He's the bad guy.
Does he kill someone while they're shitting?
He might as well have, because he's the one. Well, spoilers, because this is a historical thing. David Arquette plays the dude who kills Wild Bill, and he infamously, because I don't know if you heard about Dead Man's Hand when you play poker. Like, there's a specific like hand of cards that is like bad luck because it's the hand of cards that Wild Bill had when he died.
And what is it?
I can't remember what it specifically was. I'm not a
Is it all hearts, all diamonds, all spades?
Something like that. But fucking this kid decides, big man gunfighter fucking killed so many men in his life. I'm just gonna he's playing cards. I'm gonna just shoot this guy in the back of his head while he's not looking.
Yeah.
That's how he kills Wild Bill. And David Arquette plays this piece of shit, and everybody immediately you just killed one of the most like famous gunfighters in the Old West in a like disgraceful way.
Yeah.
We about to lynch you.
There's no honor in that.
Yeah, they lynched them. But yeah, it's interesting though that like to have like this dude just come up on you while you're like doing your business. But then also just like, you're just hanging out with your caretaker and his caretaker, his like maid. You're just like minding your own business. That same dude comes back and just fucking stabs you in the chest. And like you don't know how to process pain correctly, so you're just like, I've been stabbed, Professor. And it's just like, holy shit, Kaspar, are you okay? It's like, no.
Hey man, what do you think Kaspar was like in bed?
I don't think he ever bedded a woman.
You don't think he ever fucked?
No. If he was a con artist, he probably did. But if we were to take this movie as is,
yeah.
I don't think he ever got around to betting a woman.
That's where, like, I don't want to say retard strength comes in. It's like he's never jacked off or nothing. Like, he's never busted.
Well, he's never written about it in his own like letters or stuff, and there's never been any reports about whether or not.
You don't think one of those rich bitches that he went to try to like impress were like, you know what? I want some of that. I want some retard cock.
Well, there was that one lady who said, "Whoa, he's a noble savage."
Like shit
I'm
like that.
pretty sure like there's some
women
women were like interested to like maybe get to know Kaspar Hauser intimately because it's just like he's got to be different from these other guys. I'm pretty sure. Look, they get a little.
He
crass.
talks about horses all the time.
To get a little crass here. If you're a woman in like 16th, 17th century Germany, Bavaria, and you hear about this like man who like this young man who's probably like 19 at this point. I think he's 19 when he died, or 19 or 20. Yeah. And you hear that he like has lived. You hear his whole story, and you see him at a party, and you think like
he's basically a celebrity in Germany at that time.
Yeah, but I'm saying like,
but
this man is a total innocent, and you think like, I wonder if he's ever been with a woman.
Because I'm not the only one thinking
maybe
that, right?
Well, obviously not. I mean, I think a lot of people have talked about it, but I think of like this woman. If you're a woman in this time and you see this man at a party, you think like, I haven't heard he's been with a woman. I'm pretty sure a lot of women were like, I want to be the one who pops his cherry.
Yeah.
I also think like he probably thinks I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. I'm pretty sure he's got this idea like in his head. Like I'm pretty sure I can make him believe this is what the perfect sex would be if he's never had sex.
He's 16 to 19. That's prime age, dude. That's like built for war.
Well, which is why I think this dude just like tell him you want to be a horseman like your dad, and then he's just like, you became a freak show for like you became a pet. That's why I'm coming back to kill you.
You wasted your talents. I'm sticking to it.
I think it's interesting though, because like again, I mentioned that this is a good companion movie with the Elephant Man.
What do you mean? What do you say that?
It's a good double feature with the Elephant Man, because eventually he gets ingrained or gets introduced and becomes a celebrity in Victorian English society, and a lot of like famous people start come up. It's like, oh, Joseph, oh, like we want to be like, you're such a dear friend. And unlike Kaspar, he actually was raised and was a smart human being whose deformities got worse over time. So he was not like raised in a freak show. He became part of a circus act when he became an adult and his deformities got worse. So he was a fully developed cognitive human being, unlike Kaspar. But people treated him like he was brand new because of how they found him, and they found it's like, oh, he's actually like a smart human being with a rich inner life who just happens to be hidden underneath all these like deformities and bone problems. But again, once they found out, like, oh, he can read the Bible, he can quote poetry, he appreciates the arts. This poor soul is trapped underneath this horrible exterior. Yeah. He needs to be cultivated. And then he becomes like, and then that's when like famous actresses and stuff from like the opera or like, it's like, Joseph, you are the most pure human being. We've got to watch the movie. You're going to like that one. If you like this one, but also you'll be bummed out by the ending, like this one too.
I hate how you love just tragic endings.
I don't love them. I think it. I think
so far, one for one, tragedy.
I think if the movie purports something sad to you and then it pays off in this way, I think tragic endings can be good, I think if a movie is just like builds up to just fucking like, oh fuck this, I hope all these people die, eventually. Like, what? You made me love this character for so much and then they die at the end? I think if it builds up to a tragedy, then I think it's fine. But I think if it's just like pulls the rug underneath you and it's like, God, this makes me mad. It's like fucking Marley and Me.
Don't make me watch that movie.
I'm not going to make you watch it, but unless you've watched Old Yeller, we will be watching Old Yeller.
I've never seen it.
Okay, and then we will be watching it. Fuck. But yeah, man, any other thoughts about Kaspar Hauser? He's an interesting person. Like, in your opinion, do you believe that Kaspar Hauser, and the way he is presented as a historical figure. Do you think that was real?
In the film?
No, in history. Like, the film obviously is treating him like
the film made me like him. Whether he was a con artist or not, a grifter or what you want to call it, he danced with a cat. And that's a sentence you can't say a lot.
Danced with a cat.
He
said that Apple was smart and it jumped over that man's foot.
I couldn't understand because I just watched watched it in German. No
he
subtitles.
He loved music and made him cry.
He touched a candle and it burnt him, dude.
Yeah.
And he
held a baby and he realized that he and this baby were like mentally the same.
Physically, what he did, I thought was neat. I didn't like when he went to the rich people thing and he just ended up leaving. He was very upset about something.
Oh, it's actually two different scenes. Because he left, he like closed himself up in a room, and then the next scene he's running away, and
someone chases after him. Right?
That's the professor he's living with who took him in. They're actually leaving from church, and this is a good scene. He's saying, "Kaspar, why did you leave the church?" Because when the people start singing, it sounds like howling, and I don't like it. And then they stop singing, and then the preacher gets up on the stand and he starts howling, and it's just noise to me.
Fuck, that's cool.
And there's actually a quote at the beginning. I know you probably didn't read it with subtitles. So the quotes at the beginning, one is a dedication, and the other one is, "How can man stand it?" Actually, let me find the proper quote because I'm gonna butcher this. Hold on.
Yeah, it had a funny letter B in it.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't read that.
But that's a double S, by the way.
The B?
That little funny B is a double S.
The capital B. The fat B.
Yeah.
That's an S.
Yeah.
These Germans.
I got a couple of how to.
I'm not gonna read that.
No, you're not. I'm not. They're beginner books. They'll teach you the little school books. Anyways, let me see. Do you not hear this horrible scream? I'll read it in the Werner Herzog voice. Do you not then hear this horrible scream all around you that people usually call silence?
Do you not hear this
horrible? Do you not then hear this horrible scream that people call silence?
Why is silence?
This like loud, because like have you ever heard the term this deafening silence? Where like you hear nothing.
Silence was deafening.
Or like you hear nothing, and just the fact that you hear nothing sounds like all you can hear. Like you can hear the absence of sound.
I heard there's a room where they pay you
to do that.
Yeah, to sit in a room that's so soundproof it drives you nuts because you can hear your blood flowing through your body.
Yes. Oh yeah, but do you not hear this dreadful screaming that men call silence?
What does it say about the movie?
Well,
Why did you chose that quote?
Because it's this idea of like.
Is that a quote from Kaspar?
I don't think it's a quote from Kaspar.
From the director.
I think it's just like a quote that he likes that I think would fit this movie because it's just like I don't know. It's like being locked into this like space and not being able to hear anything, but then also like being surrounded by all this noise eventually, you know. So it's just like I think it's tied in with this idea of like being locked away for so long and then also looking for this quiet, but then also discovering music. So.
I just danced with Gus, the kitty.
Yeah.
The kitty cat. How long can a cat live?
14 to 15 years.
Oh, he's still got a couple miles.
He's got a couple years, but he's got FIV.
What was that? He fibs?
Fibs.
He lies a lot. Very on theme for today's pick.
We got off track there. We're talking about Gus here. Our mascot for the show.
What are your thoughts on the movie?
I like this movie a lot. I like Werner Herzog.
What did you not like about this movie?
I think I don't know. That's a good question. I think maybe the thing is like I think of a flaw which would maybe be like the first half, but because it's very documentary like because it's all about it's literally just kind of taking a step back and examining how Kaspar is learning and encountering the world for the first time, and I can kind of imagine people kind of checking out early on because it's just like, well, nothing's happening. He's just learning to be a person. But I think that's also fascinating because it creates how he processes the world. And then I think like obviously the middle point is when he becomes part of the circus, because that's when he gets picked up by that professor who takes him in. So I don't know. I can't find a thing that I dislike for it. I think maybe the only thing that is a real flaw is, and if you're a nitpicky, is that day for night scene at the beginning of the movie.
Day for night scene?
So it's when you put like this blue filter to kind of
make it look like night.
Make it look like night. Like early on, when that Kaspar's caretaker, the Man in Black, they're like kind of camping out in the wilderness. That's all meant to be taking place at night. And it obviously does not. It's not. It doesn't look like night at all. You know. I don't know. I think it's like a near perfect movie for what it's trying to do.
Why did you want to choose this film to be your first pick?
I saw it recently. I saw that. I was back on Tubi.
On Tubi. Don't forget to tell them.
Yeah. Tubi. If you hear this, sponsor this podcast. This is how you're gonna get free people to like go onto your site. Look, the ads. People are very ad averse, but look, I'm putting up your ads because you got the movies I want to see. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. You got the movies I want to see. I saw
Don Quixote on there. Or it might have been Crackle. One of those.
Oh, Crackle's probably got it. Crackle's got a few things on there that I'm like, oh, God.
With Adam Driver and frickin' Jonathan Pryce.
Isn't that also on like on Netflix? Isn't Netflix like want to produce that? No. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, based off of Terry Gilliam's long project in the works. Anyways, what did you think of this as the first movie for this show?
As the first pick, I was telling security on Monday, I was like, I have work, so I have to get tattooed, I have to take my bike, I have to pick up my mics, and I have to do a podcast on Thursday. And I'm just like, I have to sit down and watch this hour and 50 minutes.
It's under 2 hours. It wasn't long.
Yeah. It was like 140 and then 150 with no. It was 149.
Yeah. It's perfect length.
But I kind of like that because it's like I want to stay busy. Like I said, that's why I wanted to do another show with another guy about wrestling and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just like I like having that. Like because I was talking to my mom. I'm like, when I was working 6 days a week, I had 1 day off. It's like I wouldn't spend money that much because right now I'm spending too much money. And I'm like, this guy at the bar, when I went out with Paul in the river crossing, he was just like, if you ain't making money, you're spending it. So it's like I'm investing in this right now because podcasting.
Do you think Paul is your Kaspar Hauser? Do you think you're like that professor?
No, he's just an idiot. He's just an idiot.
No, but you think you could maybe mold him into like a Kaspar Hauser type? Like,
no.
Do you see yourself as a professor, and you're like caretaking Paul as like your Kaspar Hauser? This like innocent?
Any moment I can, I just verbally and physically abuse him.
So you're the Man in Black.
I will stab him one day.
He's gonna be taking a shit in an outhouse, and then you're gonna be like,
bro, I'm gonna get him while he's shitting. Watch, dude.
And then he'll be like hanging out at a bar, and you're just gonna stab him.
I pulled up with my bike getting towed on freaking Saturday. And he's like, what's wrong with the bike? I'm like, it ain't running. He's like, it ain't going to run for Monday. I'm like, it's not going to run for Monday. So, fuck that. And he showed up high as hell. His eyes were red as the devil's. Woohoo. This motherfucker was like, yeah, man, that sucks, dude. You just got it back. I'm like, you're high as fuck, dude. What the hell are you talking about?
You have no idea what I'm presenting to you right now.
And I'm there with the truck driver. He's like, yeah, he high as fuck. I'm like, yeah, he's high as fuck. But the movie, I thought it was cool, man. I'd probably watch it again. It's one of those movies that I'd watch once, and then after that, I'd have it as background.
Yeah.
You know, like background music or background. Because when I was getting tattooed and on Tuesday, we had those Spanish movies in the background. It's one of those things. It's just good ambient noise. It's just good background music. You know,
like I said, if you're trying to learn German, the way they talk to Kaspar at the beginning is very kind of
I could find how that's like appealing to a lot of those people. Or
well, they always say like a good way to like kind of learn the language is to ingratiate yourself in the culture. So like if you're like learning a specific, like I don't know, let's say you're learning Spanish, fucking put Mexican music on, Spanish music on,
bro. Fucking what's his name, Juanito?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, my lady's always watch. He shows me like these Indian movies that they get recommended, and I'm like, that woman needs to. I don't know, man. I'm just nitpicking.
You trying to tell me that
she's like, yeah, I learned. I chewed her out once about that. She's like, I know. She's like, whatever, man. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I was just like, I seen your feed. Like, what the hell you mean you're watching English movies? She's either watching Korean movies or Indian movies. So, but I'm not saying nothing wrong about her.
I think it's funny because I've been with my wife for a few years and she still doesn't know Spanish.
I asked my uncle about that.
And I
was like, hey, is it okay if I marry a woman without, the ability?
What'd he say?
He's like, oh, no, I speak English. It's okay. And if she's young, you could teach her.
Oh, there you go.
So I was like, he's like, just don't get with an old bitch. That's all he said.
Wow.
And an old bitch, I think, is just like anything older than me. So he's like, no, I don't care. It's like, I speak English. We could talk to her because he's like my dad, you know? So it's just like, oh, okay. But he's like, just don't get an old bitch. And if she doesn't know Spanish, you could teach her. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see.
You're never too old to learn. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I don't know. I've done a bad job of trying to teach my wife to speak Spanish.
It's terrible. I have a buddy in Yuba City. He was my drummer.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm like, what's the worst part about being in an interracial relationship? He's like, they think she knows Spanish when we go to the swap meet. And Juanito said the same shit about his Indian lady. So I'm just
you could look at my wife and you could not peg her for a minute and thinking like she knows Spanish. And most people will look at me and think like, oh yeah, these two only know English.
Yeah.
I blend in more more with my wife than she blends in with me. She does not pass at all for being.
I went to El Bajío. It's this supermarket right there where I live, across from where I live, dude. And this lady, I've known her for way too long. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And then when I leave, adios. I'm like, adios. It's like she could have talked to me in Spanish. But sometimes I guess like
I'm like that when I meet people who speak Spanish. Sometimes I'm like, I just say something in Spanish to make this make this guy's life easier. I'll struggle more to make this person's conversation much better, but it never works out that way. We got those guys at work and they're like, they know I speak Spanish, but it's just like they still prefer to talk to me in English.
I shouldn't do this, but I watched this like you ever watch Studio Binder? Yeah. Okay, they like talk about things. They were talking about how to make a great shot, and they were talking about the Godfather, the other gangster movie. Since I was a kid, I wanted to be a gangster.
The Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, that one. So there's you think I'm funny? You think I'm funny like a clown? And it was just saying how it's showing like what I want to say like their hubris or something. It's like one is very just violent, and at the end that gets him fucked over, and one is very a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So I was just like, fuck, dude, people pleaser. That's the word. It's like sometimes, because I went to get my bike checked out, and the guy's like, yeah, go tell them to fuck themselves. It's like on the way back home, I'm like, Mama, I don't think I have the heart to do stuff like that. I don't have that killer instinct. She's like, you have a good heart. And I think that's my mom saying I'm a fucking pussy, bro. Which hurts.
Fair enough, but also remember Tommy got whacked.
In the Goodfellas?
Yeah, remember? Yeah. Have you not seen that movie?
I confuse Goodfellas with Casino, and I love Casino. Casino's the one where he dies with his brother.
The worst way.
Love
they
Casino.
They don't even kill him. They bury him. They like beat him.
They beat him with a baseball bat. Yeah, both of them.
His brother gets beaten to death. He actually dies from his wounds, and then remember they just throw him in that pit and they bury him. Yeah, and he's still alive when they do it.
No, I was watching History Buffs, and they were like trying to tell the real story of that, and they were saying that was not like that. That's just Hollywood and shit. They were saying they stomped him and his brother to death.
Yeah.
They stomped on him.
Yeah.
With their feet.
Yeah.
Imagine killing someone by stepping on him repeatedly.
American History X. The curb stomp scene.
Oh, shit. That's different, though.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll probably get around to those movies eventually. But, so.
Right now?
Next movie? Next movie, what is it? Con Air?
We're watching Con Air.
Con Air, hell yeah.
Con Air is my first pick.
On this podcast, we go high and low.
What was the low?
I don't know yet. We'll get there. That movie.
What is that?
So, Con Air, if you're listening to this, by the time you hear this next episode, we probably already watched it, but still watch Con Air if you haven't seen it before. It's a fun movie. We'll give our true thoughts about it once we actually get around to watching it, and we'll see you then. And hopefully this whole conversation will make you want to watch the Enigma Kaspar Hauser. And we'll eventually get to all of other Werner Herzog's movies.
Do we have to thumbs up and thumbs down these things? Like,
do you want to? I look. Me personally, I give my favorite form of rating is like watch this movie or don't watch this movie.
Yeah.
I think most movies. I think about maybe 90% of movies are worth watching, even if they're bad, because there's something that you could kill time with it, or is worth watching about it. The other 10% are legit, just like. I wasted my life. This movie did nothing. And I think this movie is definitely in the you should watch this movie. I think you'll get something out of it. But what's the rating system you want to do? Do you want to give a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Like I said, I'd watch this as background.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a compliment. Because if you make me watch anything by James Wan or whatever, I'll be James Wan. Right? I will. That's a thumbs down already, dude. Don't make me watch anything.
Not even Aquaman?
No, fuck him. There's Amber Heard. She was a villain in frickin' Machete Kills, bro. I don't like her.
She's a villain in real life to some people.
She's a villain. And I guess they put her in the next movie.
Which is really weird.
I don't understand. They even got freaking Ezra Miller back to finish The Flash.
My favorite quote before we end this is there was like I wanted it to be fake, but apparently there was a quote by one of the people who worked on it saying like, "This movie's so good it'll make you forget Ezra Miller's crimes."
It's that like, good.
It's like look, bringing out the Michael Keaton Batman is not gonna make me forget Ezra Miller's crimes. All right,
Enriquez and Gudino.
Yes, episode 1, Enigma of Kaspar Hauser. Episode 2, Con Air. Episode 3, we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there. But next week, Con Air.
I
don't know when this is coming out, but thank y'all for listening.
Yeah.